Yeah.
Speed bumps and everything,
Speed bump, it looks good.
because it goes terrace up there.
That's right.
All right,
Fast and Furious crowd. Oh,
we have enough here? Yes, we do. Let's call the meeting to order. And the first order of business is the approval of the minutes for June 8th. I have a motion.
A motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any corrections, comments? All right. Audience citizens? I think-
David Banks.
David Banks.
Upper left is, no, he's from CES.
Okay, yep,
Brian is from JHA.
right.
And I think the other one might be Brian, Grant, or Patrick.
How
from
come it
Newfield.
says Lisa and Essa?
Well, that's us.
Oh,
No, I'm talking about lower right here.
oh, the one, the
Yeah.
mystery.
The 4633 is Patrick from Newfield.
Okay,
All right. Hello, Patrick. I guess HVAC upgrade is first up.
actually, isn't it the Board of Ed?
Well, that's the.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, you're right, you're right,
HVAC
you're right.
upgrade.
Well, Patrick is here,
Okay,
Newfield, virtually,
okay.
and CES is here as well, mechanical design.
So whoever wants to start,
I think Patrick probably should start. And Don was at the meeting today as well,
Yes.
so, we do a combined update.
Think the microphone.
So all state's well underway there. They've the ceilings are demoed in the building in the corridors where they were identified to be taken out. They've put in a good portion of their hangars in the lower level and the upper levels. For the mains, we've started looking into removing the unit ventilators at this time in the existing ones instead of waiting to allow the abatement contractor to proceed. That's more of just a timing thing than anything. Outside by where the chiller is going, the new chiller, they've scraped up the topsoil. They've laid out the new area. They're getting prepped to place the pad, and they have the direct burial pipe is already on site. Basically waiting to get put in the trench. We have some areas where we're going to be bringing the electrical inspector in to walk through, set some expectations of what we're going to be responsible for as part of the project. There's some areas that need to be addressed, but it doesn't seem to be too huge of a scope in that matter.
Yeah, Patrick, I was actually pleasantly surprised after hearing like open boxes, cut wires, some live and all that. And it didn't look like there were a heck of a lot of them
Yeah.
from what I saw on that other walkthrough. So I was expecting to see like, pigtails everywhere, splices, open splices, and it was just a couple of areas that I saw, so.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say it's probably less than what I expected initially the first time I did my walkthrough and I was poking my head above the ceiling. I had my reservations before, and now everything's down. It's a lot easier. The ceiling's completely down, and it's really not that bad overall.
Right.
Seems to be in pretty decent shape. And we're talking about a building that's been in service for, 50 years or more?
yes.
So I think it's pretty decent.
And I think from what ASC said today was the excavation is gonna start next week, right?
Yeah, that's what it sounds like for the direct buried pipe from the chiller pad to the building. They're going to start digging that. We'll say the site work foreman was on site today. I met him. He was getting his bearings with the site, and what he did as precaution, which I very much appreciated, was he had dug a pit and put in basically a trash pump in a 10-inch PVC pipe to just be prepared in case he encounters water as he's excavating, and just keeps things moving for them. They're staying ahead of potential issues.
And then I think for this group, one key RFI is for that isolation valve addition.
Yeah.
So just so you know, they're talking
Yeah.
about.
So what?
Go ahead, Patrick.
I was gonna say what that is you'll have your main branch lines for the heating and cooling going down the corridors or the main lines, and then each branch into each classroom, you have 4 pipes to supply and return for the heating and supply and return for the cooling. There's no shut-off valve for that particular room identified on the new drawings. What we have is there's gate valves that are probably original to the building for the heating side that are probably past their life expectancy. So what we're having Allstate do is pricing, putting in isolation valves on each branch line. So essentially each classroom, there'd be 4 valves going to it. That would ease an installation and also maintenance down the road.
Right, and then ASC had some concerns today about long lead items and submittals, the priority submittals. And David's on the line as well. And I think some of the long lead items, David, are gonna be, I think the RFIs are gonna be, the responses are gonna be issued tomorrow. I saw 714 on a few of them, the chiller and I think some of the switch gear. Are you guys all set, David?
Yes, so we've been sort of inundated with submittals. They sent us all the submittals right at the beginning of the project. And the general agreement has been to go by the priority list they gave us. So we've been doing those by priority list. All of the long lead time items, except for the chiller and the electrical equipment, have been returned. The chiller is, the due date is the 14th. We did run into an issue where the electrical info on that submittal is inconsistent. It's a newer product because of the refrigerant phase out. So we need to follow up on that. And then the panel boards, we're picking apart the mega submittal they sent us and trying to get them the priority submittals out of that. And we'll try to return those tomorrow too. I think that's the due date for that submittal.
Right. Patrick, any concerns on your part from what you heard?
I mean, the two that we needed first to be released as soon as possible was the chiller and the panels. Those had the longest lead times. Mostly the chiller, they need that for the pad, which they can, once it's returned, we know what the dimensions are. They can basically go. But I was surprised to hear that chiller. It sounds like it might be different than what was specified for what Dave's saying.
Yeah, I should explain that a little bit more. And they're not aware of this. We discovered this while reviewing the submittal, which hasn't been returned yet. The issue is they did submit basis of design. They've been really good about that. The problem is there's going to be a refrigerant phase out. So the refrigerant in the submitted unit is different than the basis of design, even though it's technically the basis of design chiller. So there's all sorts of implications with that. You know, Daikin had to change their software that tells you the electrical ratings of the unit. We need to make sure the ratings are actually correct. Otherwise we can't approve it. So it's going to take some more checking on our part, following up with the sales representative, stuff like that.
Did somebody order a chiller that wasn't what we originally intended, or is it not in service anymore? Is it out of production, or?
It's more of the out of production. So at the end of the year, you cannot ship R410A chillers. Our basis of design is R410A. They have to switch to some lower global warming potential refrigerant. So this one's going to be R32. So it is Daikin. It's the same dimensions. So you could say it's the basis of design, but technically it's a different chiller because it's a different refrigerant. So it's one of those weird, complicated things that come up with refrigerant phase outs.
There's no chance that this thing could get shipped before the end of the year?
No. Even if they did get an order in for a 410A chiller, they're not going to get it in time, which is why Daikin was actually trying to be proactive and send us their next generation chiller.
And,
This,
oh,
this is a minor hiccup with the power issue, but I know lead time is a big concern. So we're trying to get this taken care of as quickly as possible.
so AST has actually been submitting most of the as spec items, like they haven't been asking for alternatives, right?
Correct.
Okay. Well, that's good news.
So a lot of that stuff that they submit, it's really should be submitting for record. I mean, if it's as specified, what do you have to look at?
Well, so it's not necessarily for record, I would call it. There's still ways to submit the basis of design and still not comply with design intent, surprisingly. So we go through all the data, we make sure it matches, see any potential implications. We also need complete information. So one of the submittals, the issue was they decided to have Daikin provide the balancing valves, isolation valves, flex hoses inside the unit ventilator. Well, Daikin didn't give us any product data for that, for example. So that was one of the issues with one of the submittals, even though it was the
Yeah.
basis of design.
When you say they decided, who's they?
Oh, sorry. The contractor can decide who they get products from, right? So if they, in the general sense, I think I mean the contractor is they.
Okay.
Instead of doing it separately from a separate vendor, the contractor decided to have it packaged with the unit ventilator, which is fine by us. We just need the product data. So we know what we're approving.
Right, I got you.
Yep.
There's a lot of people with their fingers in the pot. Pronouns tend to be confusing when you're not there, like me, and you hear stuff. I say that to my kids all the time. Who is they?
Understood.
Yeah, and I have the submittal log in front of me, and they did submit a ton of information at the beginning, and then they had to actually go back and say, kind of parse out the high priority items so that David's team can actually get the stuff that's long lead out first. And they agreed that it was 2 weeks ago that's the way the submittal review would go, priority items that were noted by Allstate.
Is there any other submittal issues?
No, not that I'm aware of. They've been doing a good job with their submittals other than just overwhelming us with giving us all the submittals right away.
Yeah.
They're doing their job. Yeah.
So it's like a snake swallowing a large animal. Just gonna take some time for it to pass through, but once it does, it'll be, well, not that there's a holdup now, although it sounds like you'd like things to go differently, but you got no
Yeah.
choice, David. I think you're stuck.
Yeah, we're stuck. So I hate to go with this, but we're the large animal digesting right now, so we can
Yeah.
move the project folder forward in this
Yep.
scenario.
Well, it's July, whatever it is, 13th. So we got, what, 6-7 weeks before school starts again. Can a lot of this stuff get wrapped up so that there's a little bit more of a normal, that there's ever going to be a normal job performance
again-
when school starts? But what are you?
I guess my question is like on the chiller, we're not gonna go with a different chiller, correct? That's the chiller we're going with.
I don't think we have a choice, do we?
No,
That's what I'm
well, they sort of sent us the basis of design. The only reason why I'm saying sort of is because technically the refrigerant's different, but I want to approve the chiller. It's just we need correct power data. So if it needs a slightly bigger breaker, we need to know
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
And
I get you.
So that holds up the electrical submittal.
That holds up everybody.
Well, all I'm gonna say is if it needs a bigger one, release the submittal for the chiller and just hold the electrical submittal till you get the data back. So at least we get going with the chiller, get that on order.
well, the chiller should be out. Is it, so it looks like tomorrow. That'll be issuing a response
All right.
for the schedule.
I'm not much for schedules.
Submit along, how about that?
No, not either.
No, okay.
Submit for record when it's specified.
Yeah.
My world is casinos.
What, rush?
Yep.
Yeah.
Any recommendations, David, to change the process at all to make things,
Hire more engineers.
yeah,
Well, we'd have to hire more engineers and make them familiar with this particular project. So I guess I can't make that suggestion. I would say the good news is with the front loading of the submittals, once we clear through this, virtually all of the submittals for the project will be approved. So we just have to make it around the corner.
yeah, okay. Well, good luck.
Thank you for your
Keep
diligence.
a supply of cold water bottles next to you, so you stay awake.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Did we ever figure out what those Jersey barriers were out of the parking lot?
Patrick, the question came up about the stockpiling in the parking lot in front of the playground. So I believe that's for the excavation crew in the back, because they had stone
and sand,
and I don't know if it was sand or topsoil. But,
like sand.
There's
yeah.
cut up concrete laying over there too.
Yeah.
well, they probably saw cut sidewalk in the back where they could punch it through.
My only concern is safety.
Yeah.
Any kids running around there,
Well,
they're gonna get into that.
So I sent a note with a picture to Patrick after I went down there, took a look. So I go in the back, and at that point, I'm like, well, there's still access to the playground. I'm thinking the loader's gonna be running back and forth, you know? So I go in the back, take a look and see what they've done. And actually, they've like Patrick said, almost, they haven't boxed out, but they've kind of like scraped the area for the pad, shoulder pad. And they've kind of like, sort of like to strip the top of the slope going up, just so they have like, sort of like a layout figured out. So I come back out, there's a family in the playground.
Oh, yeah.
I wish I had taken the picture when I, on the way in. So there's activity in the playground, and there's two stockpiles right in the middle of the parking lot. And the loaders are gonna be coming out of the fenced area right in there. So Patrick now will probably, you'll be talking to ASC about that, Patrick?
Yeah, I'd already called Mike. He must have been still in the basement, their superintendent. And it went straight to voicemail. And I called Russell, their project manager. The piles in the picture, they look like new material, the trench for when they backfill that. So if they start excavation next week, they lay the pipe, get an inspection. We're probably still at least a week out before they'll be traversing back and forth. So we'll set up a plan with them.
Okay.
Me and myself, I've been on projects where we have to do something similar. And basically what we do is you have to have with the operator, essentially a flagger has to walk out there with them as the loader's going through to make sure that you don't have any foot traffic, people trying to access the playground going back and forth.
Yeah, that playground.
They get priority.
Yeah, that playground, there's schools that virtually get abandoned during the summer. And then there's other schools where people walk, kids ride bikes. That's an active school. I live very close to it. I walk my dog through it. People walk their dogs all around that area. There's a baseball field just on the other side of the
The river is there too.
river's there, so people go fishing. They catch frogs. There's a little pond behind it, all hidden by bushes. But there's a lot of kid activity in the area, and they gravitate towards the school. I've watched them.
Yeah.
There's 10 million Stingray bicycles
I
riding around
remember
there.
that parking lot.
You probably hung out there as a
Oh,
kid.
my daughter goes all the time with the kids. Yeah.
There's not many other town parks for.
No, there aren't.
kids.
And
And
there's,
that's the newer one
That's the
too.
main
That's
one.
got a lot of
Yeah.
new equipment.
right, as a gym. So there's a heightened, in my opinion, there should be a heightened sense of you got to pay attention. So.
Yeah.
If they, and my kids used to do it, if there was something there that needs discovering, they'll discover it.
Well, they'll be jumping on
They'll be
the
right-
stockpiles, digging
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah. There'll be,
Somebody falls off.
it's all, there's, pieces of twisted concrete with metal and who knows what in there. You can bet they're gonna be running around on it unless it's cordoned off, so. And it's gotta be done, in my opinion, sooner rather than later, because it only takes one time, and then, the Berlin Citizen will be all over it, and there'll be people complaining.
Well, Russell,
Oh, yeah. So just a word of caution.
Okay, so.
Yeah,
and it
I'll
looks-
definitely talk with Mike and that tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay,
Try to get some fence, at least in front of where those mafia blocks are, to block off that area. And make sure that he
Yeah.
understands when they're actually going back and forth, they need to have someone on the ground on foot, making sure that we don't have any issues.
Yeah,
I
there's
was
sites
kind of
where
surprised
you need
they
to put that
chose
stuff in.
Area to stockpile.
Yeah, there's sites where that stuff has to go up because, you know, some form says you have to do it. In this instance, this is really gonna keep people away if it's done properly.
or at least notify them.
Or,
to
right,
Stay out.
because there'll be people there every single day. I bet you 200 people walk their
There
dogs there.
should be a showing fence around it,
Yeah, there really should be a fence.
the boy fence.
Well, I'll let Patrick and ASC come up with a plan. And then the electrical walkthrough is tentatively scheduled for Monday, right?
Safety one.
Well.
Yeah,
it's-
I think we're waiting to hear back from the inspector themselves. We're targeting for Monday morning, it sounds like, to have that walkthrough, and Newfield will be there where, licensed electrician should be there also for this walkthrough. And anyone else who would want to be there for it on the town of Berlin side is definitely welcome to come.
Right. Okay. I might go. I don't see.
What
it.
time is that Monday?
It hasn't been scheduled. It's Monday morning. It's still hasn't been scheduled. So, hey, Patrick, as soon as you know, just let me know. And I can forward it to the commissioners.
Of course, I had asked the project manager from Allstate to send it out as a calendar invite. That's usually the cleanest way to let everyone know. And once I receive it, once he tells me what's going on, if I don't, I'll make sure that anyone else involved just has that
All right.
calendar invite and knows what time we're going.
Is that for the existing conditions?
Yeah, it's really, and Patrick can probably explain this better than I can, but I guess you could either box certain things, you know, if it's a dead end, box it, or have to chase it back. I don't know if it's a code issue, but it could be the call
Too many
from.
words.
Yeah. But if there's just like a cutoff, maybe an abandoned line, like, do you want that just boxed? You know, the junction box attached? Do you want them to chase it over the hallway? And Patrick, you can explain this better than I can, so.
Just box it.
Box it.
Yeah, but I know, but what
Yeah,
they want,
well,
electrical
my-
inspector, it's okay
It's
with that.
okay with that.
Before
Yeah.
they
biggest
do it, price
question
it out.
on how. My biggest question on how the inspector is going to want to approach this. This walkthrough, the intent is to kind of set the ground rules on how we're going to proceed with this work. I mean, an open junction box, we know we got to close that up, and then it's how far does he want to take supporting the junction boxes if they're just free air there. But what we have, the unknown is where you have just cut wires. You have MC that's just cut, and you can see the two wire inside. You can see the copper, and it's just there above the ceiling. Is the inspector going to be okay if we put a junction box in there, cap it and close the box above ceiling, or are they going to want us to trace that out and pull that wire back to the next junction box? That's much more effort and labor if he's actually going to have us pull the dead wires out. I'm hoping that he'll just allow us to put a junction box on the end of those and make them safe.
Right, and they're also gonna have the Board of Ed IT people there as well, because there's some issues up there. They wanna make sure, again, the ground rules are being set for that, for those cables too.
What else we got today?
I think that's it. We good, Patrick? Oh, Doug's on the line too.
Yeah, I think we pretty much captured everything that's gone on over the past 2 weeks or so. I feel pretty good about the progress. The superintendent on site seems to be working well with the custodians. Communication's been pretty good. I think we're set up for a good project.
Do we have all the existing lights, smoke detectors, speakers, are those tied up, ready for school to start again, or what's
Well-
happening with that?
Doug actually, hey Doug, you want to chime in on the smoke or the fire alarms?
That's a no.
So
Oh, wait.
Good evening, doing,
Hey Doug,
everybody. Yeah, so the plan, speaking with the fire contractors, fire approves it, they're just gonna hang the devices from the wire as they currently are. We're not gonna try to put them into ceiling
Doug,
tile
you're breaking up.
as well.
Doug, you sound like Joe
They
Biden.
log
Tell
back
you
in.
I think I can
Hang on a
probably
sec.
explain. Go ahead again, you give it a shot.
Yeah, let me just change my connection, so.
It's relocking.
Yeah, he's probably coming in on another line, maybe a different phone.
Tom was on there. See that?
Okay.
So, you know,
Oh, you was?
he was for a couple minutes, so he's gone.
Hey Doug,
Sorry about that. Is that better, guys?
oh, much better.
Sorry. Yeah, so the plan with the fire alarm contractors, they're gonna hang the new devices as they are currently, just to have them suspended from cable wire. We're not gonna try to put them in new ceiling tiles. They're gonna get destroyed over the next year or so. As long as the fire marshal's okay with that, they're gonna position them, work with
So
A.
you might want to let these guys know that the fire alarm contractor was concurrently working on this, kind of came in. And you had to coordinate with the work on the ceiling tiles and the ceiling demo and all that. Yeah,
Right,
so-
at the owners meeting today, we documented that change so that we're not trying to worry about putting new devices and new ceiling tiles without a grid that are gonna get destroyed. So as long as the fire marshal's okay with it, they'll wire the devices, hang them with a temporary wire as they currently are. And hopefully that works. It's gonna be the same condition for the cameras, the access points, lights, etc. Everything's gonna be temporarily suspended, so.
Okay,
Anything else?
anything else? We're good.
Was anybody there from the Board of Ed? Are they?
Jeff Kugno was there,
They
and
had many
Ashley.
comments because they make me.
Oh,
a
no,
little-
yeah, they're coordinating with the principal. They're actually involved with the reconfiguring the storage area where the guy's gonna be running the pipe through. So there's talk about the cages, and the cages from the PD project are actually going over to Willard. So they're kind of like two projects are kind of interrelated. And ASC told them not to put the cages up yet because it would actually get in the way of their main lines going through. So
Okay.
there's gonna be delay. So Jeff was in there and Ashley. Jeff is coordinating with the principal and the teacher, kind of that contingent. And Ashley's dealing with some of the union issues and a few other things about access and all that. So, yeah, they're at every meeting. Ashley's at every meeting. Jeff is at most meetings. Yeah.
Good.
So, which is good.
All right.
All right.
Anything else for the good of the order? All right. And I guess.
Thanks, Patrick. Thanks, Doug. Thanks, David.
Yep, thanks, guys. Next one is the
Thank you.
40 Kensington Road project, otherwise known as the.
Don't say it.
Don't say it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Say it.
Brian, you there? There he is.
I'm here to talk about 240 Kensington Road.
That's right.
Downstairs.
Well, as far as the drawing scope, the scope for the renovations were, I would say we're 100%. We presented drawings and specifications. Where we were hung up was on the site work. So since you had given us authorization last time for expanding our scope to do the exterior work, we have engaged Tom Linden from out of Weathersfield to do site work. We first were looking at getting a survey completed, but that was going to take at least 2 to 3 months just to find a surveyor. So the more we looked at it, the more we got encouraged that we don't really need a survey. The reason that we initially thought we needed, the reason we thought we initially needed this survey was we were gonna tie to the sanitary line coming out of Town Farm Road. The reason for tying into sanitary is because we have new floor drains in the Sallyport, and the floor drains need to go to sanitary. They cannot go to storm. And we wanted to have them tied to a grease oil separator. The grease oil separator was going to be installed in ground outside the Sallyport doors, so it's ease of pumping and ease of maintenance. We didn't want to put that in the building. It's just not going to be a good maintenance situation. But what we've concluded is we could take the trench drains from the Sallyport, have them exit the building into a grease oil separator, and then we're going to take the line and bring the line back into the building and tie it to the existing sanitary line. There's an existing sanitary line that runs right through the middle of the Sallyport, which leads from the high point at the Board of Ed, and it goes to the low point toward the public entrance to the police station. So there is a line there. So given that, we're not needing to trench all the way out to Town Farm Road. And now we're just dealing with some site modifications, and we're going to be meeting some existing grades. So we're going to use the survey information that we have and tell the contractor what's the revised scope, and then matching existing grades. So we don't feel that that's a requirement that needs a full survey for that scope. So the good news is we've saved some time, but the bad news is Tom can't get on it immediately, but he's assured me that he can get something to me by the end of July, which is better than waiting, for a survey and then getting started. So given that, we feel August 1st, we're going to be with a full package. And now we're just awaiting when the town is ready for us to put this out to bid. I had a conversation with Jeff D'Onofrio today, and Jeff is going to assist us with the front end contracts and the supplemental general conditions, owner contractor contracts. He's going to provide those to us for the front end. And we've provided him today the summary of work and floor plan. So he's just familiar with the scope. So we think it's going well, and we're just awaiting when the town feels it's right to go to bid.
Right, and the big question, Brian, is it's GC. We just want to make sure that's confirmed, that it's GC form of product delivery, and that's the assumption. Just want to make sure it's, confirmed.
That's been the assumption since the beginning of the project. Yes.
And I think it was discussed too at some point.
Yeah.
You guys. So.
We're
Yeah.
fine.
All right, that's a yes.
I think that makes sense.
And then Jeff's going to use an A101 contract with A201 general conditions. He's going to modify, and I don't know how he modifies it, Brian, but I think you've worked with him in the past on these.
Yeah, what he
So
does
I know-
is he puts the modifications right into the 201. So it's not a
Right.
supplemental condition. He gives us a modified 201 to put into the specifications,
Okay,
which works great. It eliminates the supplementary conditions and having to go back and forth between the
right,
document and the supplementary conditions. It's all incorporated into one.
right. And I haven't been down in the storage area, but I talked to Zabishik, who's the custodian. He said it's pretty much cleared out except for the cages and some files. So, and then Jeff was talking today, Jeff Cooter was talking today about the cages, and they have a plan to move it over to Willard. So there, I think everything's on track to get that area cleaned out well before the
Yeah.
contractor.
Big old high school.
What's that?
Got that big old high school.
I know.
Squeezing in the water.
Shoehorn it into it.
Yeah, so I think that's the decks are going to be clear for, and that's great. So August 1st, full package right now. And then once, and then run the contract through you guys. And then if it's signed off, then we go to bid.
Sounds good.
That does sound good.
Doesn't it sound good?
Yeah.
Finally,
Yeah. I like the schedule, Brian. I was expecting something a little more extended.
No,
Oh,
the only thing that would extend it is you had talked to me about, you wanting to hear something about a potential grant before it went out to bid, and I don't know if that's still impacting schedules or not.
That's, right now, there's no traction on that. So that's a pipe dream. As of this moment, because I asked about that before the meeting. And if something happens, great, but as far as I know, right now, there's no, it's not even, you know what, it's not even in, and I think Donna was talking about maybe the next, but I think if it's not in the middle, in the beginning, then you're sort of, you're rowing uphill.
Well, I know if we bid it in August and we get bids sometime in September, we allow the contractor to hold their bids for 60 days. So the town would have to be in a position to fund the project within that 60-day period and sign a contract. So you just,
Budget. I believe it is.
I think they were gonna use surplus, but whatever. I think there's an angle
Yeah,
on that. Yeah.
there's money available to start the project.
good.
Yeah.
Good, so we're lined up. And I could probably just coordinate final dates for bidding and a walkthrough, a pre-bid walkthrough, and then dates for bid submission.
Right, and then once we're at that point, I'll get a job number from Marissa and any boilerplate language that the town has that should be trickled into the front end that Jeff doesn't have in his language. That's usually pretty straightforward.
We'll take care of prevailing wage rates and get those included also.
Oh, good.
So I have,
Great.
Good job,
Police-
Brian.
The police department's been very good to work with too. We've put finishes in front of them, colors in front of them. So they've been involved in the process and they've been excited about being involved in the process. So I just wanted to convey that they're familiar with what we're doing and they've seen final colors and selections.
Excellent.
yep. Okay,
Good job, Brian. Thank you.
Brian, thanks very much.
you're free to go fishing.
Thank you. Well, I'm up in the wet mountain state, so I think
You got foot.
You don't need to go fishing. The fish are coming into your,
there's water
Be careful.
everywhere. Thanks.
all right, see ya.
Take care.
We went to a retirement party Saturday in Mayo Pack. First time I've been to Mayo Pack in years. Thunderstorm, that was Saturday. Sunday, they had 8.6 inches of rain. And where these people were was on a hill. So they didn't have the same problems that Highland Falls did and the other
Yeah.
side of the Hudson River. It sort of went through them. And they were in a brand new development, but we talked to them and they said they couldn't see the house across the street because of the rain come down. Couldn't see the house. That's how hard it was
Crazy.
raining
Yeah,
for hours.
yeah.
And there's 2 invoices there. We
Yep.
Yeah,
use
yeah.
CES.
Yep, so anyhow, I'll get 2 invoices. One we already approved, it was emailed around. It was for $45,000 for Jakunski Humes. And if you remember, we all approved it.
Yeah.
So let's read this right into the record. I don't have to sign it again, do I?
No.
Okay.
I just needed it.
I don't want to get arrested here. Especially when we're
I'll bill
working
you
on the
out.
police department.
I'll bill you.
Oh, nice.
Okay, thanks. If the steel sells nice, maybe I'll stay there.
Was the motion, I know, like, I think it came in order on the computer, it came. Somebody started.
Well, I know somebody did a
Okay,
synopsis at the end and said, looked like it's approved. I believe that came from you. But
It went out for approval and it
Yeah.
all came back.
everybody came back
approved,
approving it, yeah. Unanimously.
Yes.
So just write unanimously approved via email.
Okay.
And, if you need the date, we'll figure out the date.
We can figure that one out.
Yeah. And the next one is an invoice for bid services from CES for $1,500. Don't forget, we've paid them $14,000. This was for the additional $3,000 fees for bid services, which will mean that'll be wrapped up. So I'm assuming they're done with bid services.
They are.
And then we have construction administrative services, which obviously are gonna be in the future. But this particular invoice is for $1,500 for the balance of the bid services. So I need an approval.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? No, good. All right, that's done. Any new business?
Could I go back to
You may.
Willard HVAC? A concept has been put on the table by Arosha about, and he asked me to bring this before you guys, about converting the contingencies for Allstate and Newfield, which are tied to the vendors in the system, in the financial system, the, PO system. They're encumbered. One is to Allstate and one is to Newfield. Arosha's idea, because I think back in the university days when he was working, they had an owner's contingency that was free. It was sort of like you could use it for the existing vendors or new vendors. Now, what that would require would it be me to go back to town council and ask, and we've already modified it, the contingencies twice already.
Yeah, it's more than that.
And I thought he was talking about future projects. So he said, no, even looking back at Willard. So I was like,
It's a deductive
Yeah.
subcontractor change order.
yeah,
They're not gonna-
oh, okay,
Because it's in their contract.
See, that's why I was asking what they wanted to do in the beginning. Where they wanted $400,000 or whatever the number was, I can't remember right now, but somebody had to figure out from the town which one to get
right.
it from and sort of had to play in advance. Which is
Yeah.
always,
Well, I indicated there might be a reluctance on Willard to go back and take two existing vendor contingencies and just say, okay, they're now a universal contingency. And I don't know if they're tied to their contracts because their contracts are,
It was an alternate within the contracts. That's where.
well, that was a 221,000. I'm talking about the 350 for Allstate that's separate from that. It's on top of the 4.063.
It's either sitting with Allstate or it's sitting with Newfield.
Right,
One of them, it's in their
or,
contract.
yeah, my suggestion was gonna be at the time, but it was to split it. Say,
Well, they can't do anything with that contingency unless it's approved by us.
right.
yeah,
So
that's
that,
right.
it's
So
just,
my suggestion would have been to take half of it or 60% of it, discuss it amongst ourselves, which had the higher contingency, which had a
Well,
remote chance of being,
right, well, that
Excellent.
was adjusted. In fact, that was adjusted. And let me go back another step. The most recent contingency adjustment was Newfield was at 400. We needed money for, there was some extra costs that Doug had on moving stuff out of the way for the storage area and all that stuff. So we needed, and Fryer, we needed $20,000 for Fryer to do
Fryer,
construction
something.
administration.
yes.
So it was kind of my call. I said, well, why don't, if we're gonna ask for another contingency, let's ask for 50, not the 20, and we have 30 left over. So right now, there's an owner's contingency of $30,000 that's in there, that's free of any vendor. So if anything pops up that's sort of lower level, it can be handled. What Arosh was talking about was taking all the contingencies and wrap them up into one owner's,
One
put that
bag.
all in.
Yeah,
And that would be Newfield and Allstate,
That would be,
And
in my
I-
opinion, that'd be a problem.
Yeah, I did indicate there might be some reluctance from this group on that, and I'm sensing it's.
what I would say is when we get 50 or 60% done with the project, then we go for reduction.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
We hit them for reduction.
okay, all right,
That makes sense. Right
right,
now, we don't know, like you just open up the ceiling and it's a mess.
yeah, right,
And that's driving more costs. So,
yeah,
and again, I'd
Well,
rather
too,
have
we had this thing about the valves.
Yeah.
So
the valves
Yeah,
are coming.
exactly.
yeah.
What
And
was
that's-
with the
that's the
concrete?
whole-
What was change order 5 with the concrete? What was that about?
There's a panel of sidewalk, right, so they're going through a pristine panel of sidewalk right next to, and that's how it was designed. Right next to it is a panel and a half that's shot. I mean, I went and took a look at it. It's got like, I don't know, it's just small concrete,
Yeah.
it's shot. I'm thinking there's no way they could take this out with disrupting that one anyway. So it's just like a panel and a half next to it that is literally right next to where the trenches are gonna be. So, and I was looking at it like, as a town guy, like, let's just put it in there, but it's not HVAC related. No, we're gonna pay for it one way or the other,
I
you
know,
know?
I know.
So that's just, and I think it's gonna be chump change. I don't think it's gonna be a big ticket. It's just,
Yeah.
it's out from the school, extra wide sidewalk in the back. and it's gonna be the same exact width as what they're doing right next to it. where they're putting
It'll
the
even
fence.
look better when it gets done.
Oh, no, and that's the only, and the rest of the side, I looked up and down the back of the school, like, that's the only place.
Yeah.
Need to be
So it's right
repaired.
there, and I don't think incrementally it's gonna be a big number, you know? And I have unit cost, we have unit costs from our on-call contractor, so I'm gonna send them to Patrick and Brian and say, this is what we're paying now for just these, William Layden does these are on call. So we have per square foot, linear foot, and they can convert that into a, cost for comparison. So if ASC is really high, we could just say, this is what we're paying now, and whatever. So that's what that, it wasn't, a huge slab or anything like that.
No.
Yeah, it's a sidewalk. Just a panel and a half. So, since we're talking about contingencies, what's your concept of going forward about making an owner's contingency instead of having contractor CM or whatever, or the various?
In essence, that's what this is, because Arosh is asking for it. We weren't.
No, I got it.
So while I would like to participate and give our expertise, after a while, it's lumping maybe what if on top of what if.
Yeah.
If everybody's professional about this, we've said it from the beginning. It's
Yeah.
very high.
Yeah.
They can't touch it.
Yeah.
We have to sign up for.
We have to
change orders.
sign off.
But I'm saying
Right.
for new projects coming, like, what is your idea of if you have,
I would leave it alone.
Yeah.
Okay, you
Yeah,
would-
I would.
you
yeah.
would,
And there's reasons for it.
okay, all right.
Just
So
for the
you-
reason
you-
Roche is asking for it.
Yeah.
That's the
Is the reason
exact.
why I
point.
want it in the
Oh,
project.
okay, all right.
Look up
So,
the definition
you
of
would-
contingency in a
Because
dictionary,
he's
and
gonna-
that's why we would like to have, we control the
right.
first.
No, but I'm saying, I think you still would, you wouldn't control the owner's contingency?
No.
Oh, I thought it
And then
would
every
still
time we
be
need
under.
it, every time we'd have to have them sign up on the change order for the job.
Oh, I thought it would be still under the purview of the PVC.
No, because as soon as it comes out, we don't have any way to hold.
Right,
The only way to hold money is on the project level.
Right.
right,
So as soon as we give up that ability to hold it at the project level,
yeah,
it goes back to the town.
yeah.
And then the town controls all the contingency dollars.
Isn't there a way to engineer it so it is connected with the
Not
project?
the way our charter's written. for the-
Oh, all right, you know what? I got the.
They
answer.
designed
I
it,
got
so-
two no's.
It seems that.
Yeah, yeah.
This is
No, no, no.
our way, right.
So I sense the real world experience there.
Yeah.
Of where things got a little,
Yeah.
involved.
Yeah.
Well, what happened is they could spend the money and we get blamed.
Yeah, gotcha, okay,
When-
all right.
So what'll happen, let's say at the end of the day, let's say we have, I don't know how much did it know, what is it, 400,000, something like that?
No, 350, 450.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
three
let's say
fifty
there's,
plus one, 100 for Newfield.
so let's say there's 450 out there.
Yeah.
We spent 150 on the job. When we're done, it's deduct change order from them back to the town.
No, I get that, yeah,
Right.
It's over.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's why it's better to keep it the way
Yeah.
it is.
I think,
And that's the way it's intended, because
Yeah.
at least there's a check on, it just prevents somebody from going cavalierly, oh, we got 400.
yeah,
Just
I can
this,
spend it.
and then part of the
See, what
project.
what we're doing is, like, I asked them today for the change order log, that sort of caught them flat footed, but we need the change order log to know what we're projecting against the 450.
yeah.
You follow
Actually,
me?
no one's mentioned a change order log at all.
I'm sorry, I had to be the. first.
No, I'm glad you did.
Yeah,
Well, they better start getting one, because it's gonna happen.
Well, yeah, I'm sure that Brian would have chimed in on that, like.
because what I want to do is just project against it. So
Yeah,
we know we have the 450, right?
yeah,
And let's say we have the change orders 1 through 8 right now. RFI is
I
a
know,
means to a change order.
I know.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
As long as we project against it, and know that we only have, let's say we spend 20 grand out of all those 8 change orders or something like that.
right,
That's fine. Those valves scare me
I know.
because
4 on each
That's
line, going,
big one.
each for each classroom.
it's the labor and the valves are going to
The
kill us.
valves are expensive.
This,
Yeah.
we went through this at the high school.
Yeah.
Same
Why-
thing.
What is your concept? Do you
Who
agree with
mentioned
it?
that?
First,
That's what I'm wondering. Why weren't the valves part of the project?
Well, here's the deal. What we got to do is this.
because that,
When we get to, the RFI is in now with the engineer. He's got to go through and tell us why he didn't include those valves in his number.
I already heard, it was to save money.
Okay, so,
But that's not his technical response. That was kind of like, well, why did you put it in? Well, we were trying to save the project money.
well, was there, the thing is it
So
required by code?
eliminating-
Yeah,
Is it required by code, yes or no?
Yeah.
And if it is required by code, we're gonna go visit his E and O insurance.
Yeah,
But now if it's not required by code
yeah,
and it's something the town wants, then that has to go back. That's not coming out of our budget. That's gotta go back to town council because they have to tell us where they wanna take the money. It wasn't part of the project.
oh,
right.
So again, it's not a change order due to a discovered condition in the
Mhm.
field. And, quite honestly, everyone involved with the town had those drawings forever to review them and go through them. And there was multiple walkthroughs and none of that ever came up. So I don't want to be the stinker, but I'm sort of gonna be, because there's no way this should have happened this late in the game. Because if we were bidding it out, we would have got the true value of it then. Now we're paying the double cost because you're not gonna get a real value on it.
It did,
You know,
Don, it did come up in the walkthrough and we were under the assumption that they were included. So there was a misunderstanding there, but we did do a walk field, new field prior to this and that was supposed to be included. So
Do we have it in the meeting minutes anywhere, Doug?
it was an informal walkthrough.
Okay. So again, that's something we have to figure out.
And certainly
Now,
what we're learning too, that it takes a day to drain the building. So if we don't have valves, it's going to drive a lot of cost to the project every time they have to go into a room to isolate a room during the fall or the winter to change out the units,
Well, that's a maintenance issue afterwards. What about for,
Well, even constructability.
no, well, yeah,
Yeah, I want to see what the engineer says back on it. So,
Well, there was some other discussion about the gate valves being over their useful life.
Yeah, well,
Were they planning on using the gate valves for
well,
some of this?
no, they were planning on taking them out. They
Oh.
were, the approach, and Mike actually mentioned that today at the meeting.
Yeah.
He said he'd like, I mean, of course, he's, assuming that we're gonna go ahead or the town's gonna go ahead. He wants to clean it all up, take out the old gate valves, new, 4 brand new, valves, 2 on the hot, 2 on the cold, and
for every classroom.
Yeah, that's a lot of valves.
It's a lot of those.
it's a lot of work.
so we're gonna have
That's
to
a
see
big
get
miss
the
too,
change
by
order
somebody.
together and let's go
I
through
mean,
it. Let's see what the cost is.
The famous saying, we would have paid for it up front or we paid for it later. So
It would have been cheaper to pay for it up front.
sure.
Because we put all our contingencies in place based on what we bought the job out for. Not anticipating a huge, massive change like this. And if it's a convenience issue, that's something that's gonna have to go back to the town council. Because I'm not gonna endorse a convenience issue. So,
and coordinating with ASC, it seems like a constructability issue too, but certainly a maintenance benefit down the road too. But they have a lot of concerns about trying to isolate a classroom in the fall or the winter with valves that don't hold currently,
yeah, well, let's look at it and see what that cost is. Maintenance issue long-term, like, we don't know what the valves are right now, so we don't know what we're talking about for dollars. But once we do, then we can look at the long-term maintenance issue there and compare it against what the actual cost of the valves are and putting them in and see if it washes out or not. And if it's, let's say if it's in a 5-year window, I'm all for it. If it's over a 10-year or 15-year payback, sort of not, because by then the valves are gonna be gone
Yeah,
anyway.
each shot anyway.
So that's something we really gotta look at.
Okay, and just to go back, on the owner's contingency, the intent was so that we wouldn't have to go back to town council every time a new consultant showed up and it exceeded the money that's in the sort of the account. It was almost to set up almost like where you guys could say, okay, let's get on, SCS, we want to increase them by $5,000. The money's already set up, not tied. It's, it's kind of like a fluid
Yeah.
situation. So I think that was the intent. I don't
But
think the
it
intent was.
can't be, it shouldn't be that fluid. It's either gonna be one thing or another. It's
Well, things
sort
keep
of,
popping up.
yeah, but
Yeah.
we can identify them quickly
Yeah.
and say, this comes out of that category, and this
Yeah.
comes out of that category. It
Well,
just,
Like these valves, I don't know what that's gonna cost.
yeah,
That could be $500,000 that come back.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
And then is it really required by any code?
Yeah.
And if it's not, then.
Probably not. I don't know, but I would.
well, that's
I
the
would-
whole point.
Well,
that
If they
John
put it in the
we-
drawing, it probably wasn't required.
right, but we should have some choice too with what they're gonna come back with. Maybe we don't need to put them at every classroom. Maybe we could do it by wing.
Right.
Have
that's
an
exactly-
isolation
Oh,
valve
right,
per
yeah.
wing.
right.
Why do we need to
Or
have it at
group them
every,
in
right,
some logical
groups
group.
of 4 rooms?
Yeah.
You know
Right.
what I'm saying? There's
Skill
gotta be
factor.
some
That's a
way
great-
to,
that's
yeah.
a Very good.
That's a great idea. You could
It's just,
put-
I mean,
Yeah.
we can have options, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
if we can save money somewhere and still accomplish.
along those lines, you want me to ask Newfield to have them like give an alternate pricing of just a group, a batch of valves
Well,
in any
How
location?
is this
like a
coming from
unit?
CES or is this coming?
This is coming from, I think it was raised by ASC and Newfield.
So is it an
Well,
RFI?
it was an RFI, that's
So
right.
it could be
right.
responded by CES.
Yeah,
Yeah. So at least explore. It's
Yeah,
a good thing
that's a great
early,
idea.
earlier than
I
just
mean,
say,
that's what
what,
the cost,
right,
like,
what will it cost?
75%,
More than that, yeah,
yeah, more than that, yeah.
So how
And
many
then
classes?
still
are there?
increase the assisting, make on the maintenance.
And maybe have CES talk with the contractor of how their constructability is, like maybe they can suggest
Yeah,
how they were planning on breaking the job up,
yeah,
maybe to make it easier for both construction and
yeah.
maintenance. I don't know.
I think that they, I don't know if that's closed in the submittal log, but
Because what were you doing? Like the pipes came into one room and they did the room and then the room above in one
Yes,
way.
yeah.
So you could do two rooms with one
Right.
valve there.
oh, that wasn't. the submittal log.
Then you're right, the way the school's laid out, it could be wings or floors, or it could be
Right.
broken up.
It doesn't need to be individual.
Right. I mean, that's just
Yeah.
a lot of valves.
So do you want me to?
More chance for breakage.
Float that by
maintenance.
Brian and Patrick,
I want you to float it by the engineer.
engineer,
See
okay,
what he says,
all right.
saying about breaking up by wing.
And also I'll ask the code question too.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, and he'd probably say if it was required by code, would have put it in the drawings.
Yeah.
Because that was their job.
You might want to send out a email to carbon copy a bunch of people. So
Okay,
that they can't come back and say, wow, I never heard about this.
as a result of the discussion last night, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
And
send
then
it
I
to,
think the engineer comes back and he has a reasonable plan for the valves. And let's entertain it.
Yeah,
I mean, in theory,
Yeah.
depending upon what the number is,
yeah, I think. that-
we can hit the contingency right away.
Well, you're talking to me, no. That would scare me.
That's why it's.
Well, we've had experience with that.
Yeah.
and it's a good point.
Do
Somebody
you
missed
know
it,
value of
like,
that? Do you know value of that, how that works, so everyone knows? It's not for the total value.
Right,
It's only for the difference between what you would have bought it for at bid time versus what it is now. So the change order ad, let's say if it's 15%, at 10 and 5 on a change order. So it's 15% of that is all you could really hit through.
And it's gonna have detectable too.
Will that come out of his pocket?
but it's also an irritant that companies don't want to have. When you ask them, hey, how many times has your E&O policy been hit? You know, they like to say 0. They're proud of that. So,
Okay,
That's how we settled the high school.
yeah, it
all right.
is.
Sorry about extending the discussion, but
That's
I
okay. No,
remember the
that's
Roche wanted
important.
me to
This
ask
is,
the question.
that's
and I got my answer and I'm not entirely, it's not as expected.
Mike, I just had one question on invoices.
Okay.
Right,
Dude,
Sorry if I missed it. Did the sustainable engineering invoice get submitted for approval? The 2250?
no,
That was sent out to you and Lisa, to
we
add to
had
the
to have
agenda.
Just do an email.
an email?
Yeah, do it.
We had one, it came in when you were out, Lisa. So-
No,
The world stopped.
Throw me under the bus.
you're off the hook.
Yeah, no, because I think, yeah, I remember Doug sending it. And it was SES, and it wasn't big, right? It was, what did you say,
22,000?
2250?
2250, yes.
Well, if we can't find it now, we can just do it by email, like you said. Right. And I know the work they've been doing, they've been like chiming in on the RFIs and submittals and stuff. Thanks, Doug. Sorry about that.
Good
No
catch.
problem. No problem. Just wanted to, they're pretty understanding. They know there's a process.
Send it out tomorrow.
Probably the
Next,
fourth.
next order of business.
And you put sustainable on
Next
that.
order of
It
business
immediately
is
gets active.
old business and Berlin High School closeout. I'm assuming we have no news.
Look at that.
Wow, what's the date?
What, my date?
Yeah.
July 5th.
July 5th.
Read it up, Tom. Let's get the phone.
Hey, that was 9 days ago.
No, the day off.
All right, here we go. Day after, I was one of the few people working in the town hall.
Okay. The big guy wants 10%. What? I have an invoice from SES dated June 30th for, what the heck is this due? I thought you said 22,000. It's 12,700. No, wait a minute here. Oh, 2,200. It's 2,250.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Confused me here.
check it out.
Make a motion to approve.
I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. Done. You're keeping your record intact, Mike. Submissions at,
Whew.
this one's actually 8 o'clock instead of 10 to 7.
Did we just say we had the high school
High school
closeout?
closeout, any status, any update?
I know nothing. I'm
Okay.
sure
Good,
Doug got nothing. I'm sure.
nothing. And item 8 is.
I haven't heard anything.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay.
Have a good night, everyone.
Okay, you too.
You too.
Man on the
Take care.
east.